In this video, I've put some practice questions on mechanical comprehension to prepare for the ASVAB test. So this section of the ASVAB test is designed to measure your aptitude for understanding basic mechanics. But this doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to know the technical terms, but you have to know what happens in simple mechanics, how mechanical principles are used in real-life situations, and how well you can understand and use ideas related to simple machines, how levers, pulleys, and inclined planes work and are used to change force and motion. So let's answer some problems here, questions. 3 beams are 10 feet long each and all of the same size. One is made of wood, another of steel, and the third of concrete. If identical loads are applied to these 3 beams, which of the following will happen? Now, to answer this question, we have to know the flexural rigidity of the material. So let's take a look at what we're given here. 3 materials: wood, steel, and concrete. So wood is a natural material that tends to have more flexibility and can undergo greater deflection under load. Steel, on the other hand, is stronger and stiffer material, which means it will experience less deformation or deflection when subjected to some load. And concrete, being a rigid material with high compressive strength, will also exhibit minimal deflection compared to wood. However, steel is generally known for its superior strength and stiffness, making it more resistant to deflection compared to both wood and concrete under the same load. Therefore, the answer here is this one. The steel beam will deflect less than the wood beam. This is because steel has a higher flexural rigidity than wood, and flexural rigidity is a measure of a beam's resistance to bending. The higher the flexural rigidity, the less the beam will deflect. Two wells are in the same environment. One has a wider opening than the other. If the air suddenly becomes very hot, which well will warm up more quickly? If equal, mark C. So we're given here 2 wells, the same shape, but the other one has a wider opening. So which one here will warm up more quickly? So the answer here is well A. Well A will be more affected by the air temperature because it has a larger opening. Which opening in the dam will have the greatest water pressure? So we're given here a dam and then 3 openings, A, B, and C. So the answer here is opening A. So water pressure increases with depth, and opening C here is at this one, at the greatest depth of water, which means it is the point with the greatest amount of pressure. Two trucks are carrying the same weights. Which truck is more likely to tip during a turn? If equal, mark C. Now to answer this, truck B will more likely to tip during a turn because the center of gravity in truck B is higher, making it easier to tip. Which teapot design will hold the least amount of water? If equal, mark C. So we're given here 2 teapots. Take a look at the 2 teapots here. Notice that the teapot A's spout is of the same level as the lid, while teapot B the level of the spout is lower than that of the lid. Therefore, the answer here is B, because the water in teapot A will overflow only when the water reaches the level of the lid. However, the water in teapot B will overflow when the water level is at the top of the spout here. The amount of water is measured by a water height gauge on one side of a water tank. If the tank is installed on the shown slope, what point will the gauge read? So we have points A, B, and C here. Okay, the water level will stay constant across all open tubes. So placing the tank on the slope will lower the water in the gauge. Therefore, the answer here is letter C. The measure of the quantity of matter in an object is its mass, force, weight, and density. So the answer here is mass, because mass is the amount of matter in an object. It is usually, but not always, an object with a larger volume has a larger density. What is the advantage of a single pulley? It allows you to lift something with less force. It changes the direction of the effort. It diminishes the effects of gravity. It decreases the chance of injury. So the answer here is it changes the direction of the effort. So a single pulley changes the direction of effort. You pull the rope down in order to lift the object up instead of pushing up. So the same amount of effort is required as without a pulley. Power is the amount of force, rate of work, energy of an object, difference in resistance. So now power is the rate at which work is performed, the rate at which force is successfully applied over a distance. Therefore, the answer here is rate of work. So power is the rate of work. In terms of force, what makes hydraulic jack so useful? The liquid is not very dense. The liquid decreases the effects of gravity. The liquid does not compress very much. The jack spread out force over a large surface area. So the answer here is this one. The liquid does not compress very much. So hydraulic jacks are useful because the liquids used to transmit force do not compress, even under high pressure. Instead, that force is transmitted to another location. If a large gear drives a smaller gear, which of the following will not occur? An increase in rotational speed, a decrease in torque, a change in rotational direction, or a change in gear ratio. So the answer here is this one, a change in gear ratio. So the ratio of the gears, which is a comparison of the number of teeth on the gears, will remain the same. Simple machines are useful in that they blank simplify tasks, create a mechanical shortcut, are easy to design and build, reduce the effort needed to accomplish a task. The answer here is this one, reduce the effort needed to accomplish a task. So simple machines amplify the effort put into a task. For instance, a pulley allows a person to lift a much heavier load than they otherwise would be capable of. Energy is the power of motion, the application of force, the capacity to do work, the opposition of weight. So the answer here is this one. Energy is the capacity to do work, to change something. Which of the following is the best example of an inclined plane? A screw, a slide, a swing, a head shape. The answer here is a slide. So a slide is the best example of an inclined plane. It is a surface tilted at an angle used for raising or lowering objects. How is a wedge different from an inclined plane? The angles of a wedge are generally smaller. A wedge provides more mechanical advantage. A wedge compounds force. A wedge is used in motion. So a wedge, unlike a slide, is useful in motion. For example, a knife slicing through a vegetable or through a carrot. So the answer here is a wedge is used in motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Best summarizes which of Newton's law of motion? Newton's first law, Newton's second law, third law, or none of the above. So the answer here is Newton's third law. Newton's third law explains that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Work occurs when force is applied. Force is applied in a certain direction. Force is unable to overcome resistance. Force is used to move something over a distance. So the answer here is this one. Force is used to move something over a distance. So work occurs when force is used to move something overcoming resistance over a certain distance. And work results in movement, otherwise it is just force. And work is calculated by multiplying force by distance with this formula, W equals F times T. And this is measured in joules, while force is measured in newtons and distance is measured in meters. "15 joules of work were expended moving an 18 kilograms block. At what velocity did the block move?" Now to solve for the velocity here, we use the formula for the kinetic energy. Work equals the kinetic energy, Ke. So our energy is Ke. This is because any work that is done to accelerate an object is converted to kinetic energy of that object from the work energy theorem. So we can just plug in everything that is given. We're given 15 joules of work and then the mass of the block, the object. So this is just equivalent to 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So plugging in the mass or the weight of the block in the work done. So this is 15 joules equals 1/2 times 18 kilograms V squared. Take note that joules is equivalent to kilograms meters squared per second squared. So this is just 15 kilograms meters squared per second squared equals 1/2 times 18 kilograms velocity squared. So let's cancel out some units here first. We cancel out kilograms, so we are left with meters squared per second squared. Then we can multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the 1/2 here. Okay. Then this cancels out, so we are left with 2 times 15 meters squared S squared equals 18 V squared. Then we have 30 meters squared per second squared equals 18 V squared, and we divide both sides by 18 because we're going to solve for the velocity. And 30 divided by 18 is just equivalent to 1 1.67 meters squared per second squared equals the velocity, and then we get the square root of both sides to solve for v. Then v is just equal to the square root of 1.67. Actually, this is 1.667 meters squared per second squared. Then this would give us an answer that is equivalent to 1.29 meter per second. So this is our velocity. But among the choices here, we don't have 1.29. So we can just round this off to approximately 1.3 meter per second. So the answer here is this one. So the velocity the velocity at which the block moved is 1.3 meter per second. A farmer is attempting to pull a log with a line of rope attached to a tractor. Where should he watch for breakage on the rope? Nearest to the log, nearest to the tractor, in the middle of the length, no specific point on the length. So the answer here is nearest to the tractor. So the tension on the rope nearest to the tractor is the greatest. This is because the tension is greatest where the force is being applied.